Hey, that's not how we start any show.
Well, I was going to do an off intro, but I guess I'll just say, hey, everybody, welcome to the Bible Belt Bros podcast. Here we are today with my friend Eric, and I don't want to say your last name because I might say it wrong.
Nevins.
And so I'm just going to say Eric from, he's a huge podcaster in the Christian realm.
Really? What's the name of his podcast?
With it's halfway there or halfway home. I get those confused.
Halfway there, yeah, you got it.
Halfway there. I halfway had it, Andrew. And so
that's very meta, Dusty. Very meta.
Yeah, so he's been very influential about getting me, helping me find connections. Some of the guests that we've had on our podcast come from the Facebook group that he set up, and we're just going to talk all about that. So I guess, Eric, tell us who you are, how long you've been a Christian. I know I'm saying a lot. That's what post is for, Andrew. And so just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into podcasting, what your podcast is about. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, okay. That's a lot of questions. So my name's Eric Nevins. I live in the Denver area, and I've been married this summer. It'll be 22 years. So that's good. We have 4 kids and a dog. That's seems like a right production for 22 years, I think. We've been here for, I don't know, I think it's 15 years or so. Came out here to go to school, got a MDiv, Master of Divinity, with an emphasis in spiritual formation, which has been one of my passions for basically that whole time, which kind of leads into my podcast. So my podcast is called Halfway There, which I really was looking for a show. I'm sure you did the same thing, Dusty, or both of you, that when you started looking around for starting a podcast, a lot of the Christian podcasts in the top 10 in iTunes, they're all sermons, right? Or teaching of some sort. And
you're not going to compete with that.
No, you're not. I'm not. Exactly. Man, I spent a lot of years trying to compete with that, trying to be a preacher or a teacher. And turns out I'm not that great at telling people what to think.
Dusty tried that too. He wasn't very good.
Yeah. I would take 3 days to write a sermon that was supposed to be 30 minutes, and I would say it so fast it would be done in 10.
There you go, right? It's just it's way harder than it looks. So I try to be compassionate, especially to new preachers, because I have experienced that. But having experienced it, I decided, there's some other things that we can do. No wonder people think we're preachy if that's all we're putting out there. So let's tell some stories instead. A good chunk of the New Testament is narrative. And I think one of the ways to demonstrate growth over time is to have people tell their story. So that's what I do on Halfway There, interview people about their from the time they met Jesus until wherever they are at the moment, and kind of demonstrate the spiritual journey in a story form rather than in a teaching form.
All right, so quick question. You went to seminary.
Yep.
You got your MDiv.
Yep.
So who is the only man to physically wrestle with God?
Jacob, of course.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
what?
I actually, Dusty, did you know that?
Okay,
I just learned that in house church.
Nice.
And it just, when I heard that, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, how strong was Jacob that God said he couldn't overpower him?
Or was it like a dad toying with his son?
I don't think
I'll
so,
give you your shot. But
it says, because the man said, wow, I cannot overcome him, or not. That's paraphrasing. That's why I don't think it's kind of that father-son toying around. I mean, it feels like, and we're getting preachy. There we go with it.
That's an interesting passage. There's a lot in there about, I think Jacob's obviously wrestling. There's some question whether it's an angel or what's going on there exactly. But, eventually that's where he gets his new name, which is a really interesting story of identity. That's the second time that he's kind of renamed, which is fascinating.
I learned that this week, and it blew my mind that about Jacob. So,
and anytime we're actually right on the topic, we've got to say it because it doesn't happen very often.
Well, although it was my topic, so I knew I was going to be right.
There is a first time for everything. That's great.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, Eric, you started a Facebook group. It's the Christian Podcast Association, Christian Podcasters.
Yep.
Something. I'm a friend of it. Just see what group I'm in, and then you'll see it.
I need to know. Is it association at the end?
It is. So when I started it, there was already a group called Christian Podcast Community, and now I guess there's 2 groups called that. So I decided to try something different, and I chose the word association. I mean, it can be abbreviated in sort of sundry ways, but
CPA. Right?
I did. But I did that because one of my goals was to really connect Christian podcasters. So the reality is this thing that we got going on here, we get to talk to each other, be on your show, is what I was looking for, right? Because there weren't any other Christian podcasting groups that actually were there for the purpose of connecting Christian podcasters, whether it's getting help, getting different kinds of questions answered, or learning how to promote, or learn all the stuff about websites or technical stuff, whatever it is. And so I said, all right, let's do that. Let's start our own. And me and a guy named Phil Gauthier started it. Phil has since stopped podcasting, but that's okay.
Oh,
I know, right?
Yeah.
We've stopped and started and stopped and started.
That's okay.
We have that on and off again, girlfriend-boyfriend relationship.
Wait, with one another or with podcasting?
Both.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry I asked.
Our friendship's kind of on and off sometimes, and so is our podcast.
Yeah.
Because it is affected by our friendship.
Actually, I think our friendship is more affected by our podcast, because for so long I've been asking you to podcast.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'm free, and then never call me back.
Yeah. Yeah, for a while, that was one of the reasons we started a podcast personally, was we were frustrated about some churchy things, and so
yes.
I don't journal. That's one thing that my Celebrate Recovery group has challenged me to start doing, is to start journaling. And so far, I'm 0 for 7 on the journaling.
7 weeks or 7 days?
7 days on the journaling journey. And so, but podcasting is a form of journaling. It's a form of me being able to get things out. And
100%. It's electronic too. It's forever.
Yeah, and sometimes like I will edit out something that's stupid or I don't believe anymore or whatever, and it was just an emotional thing. But so for me, it was a way of venting, and also for us, best friends since high school, barely friends since marriage. Just because life just happens, and you have separate jobs, you have separate duties, and all that kind of stuff, and so. Podcasting was a way that we would hang out at least for an hour once a week.
That's how we rekindled our relationship.
Yes, that lit the fire in the relationship, Andrew.
I like it.
And it got me to set a date. Like, I think we had more date nights than, me and my wife for a while.
Oh, yeah. 100% true.
Scheduled. Eric doesn't know us very well, and he's learning a lot.
There's so many places we can go, but... Yeah, what I love, though, you guys, is that here's the reality. Most men are not unlike you, right? You have friends when you're single, and then you get married, and it's like, hey, I don't have any time because your schedule is dominated by family life or whatever and work, and you don't have time for friends. So I think it's awesome. I commend you guys for...
Or I don't have money to go out because I got to buy throw pillows.
Throw pillows, right? Nobody needs a throw pillow.
We got just 20 pillows on our bed, Like,
you guys must have some epic pillow fights.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, gosh, Andrew. That's edited out right now. This is why we don't do a live show, Eric. It's just...
Oh, I didn't tell you I'm broadcasting live on Facebook right now?
Yes, let's do it.
It's all right. People know us well enough, I guess. What kind of relationships have you developed with, this podcast group? Because I've developed a lot of relationships with you. You had a group that you led together on a journey of starting their podcast or developing... you helped me with technology a lot, with helping be a better, not storyteller, but better like intentional when we're doing stuff. And so you've led people on a journey, but what kind of connections have you made as well?
Well, I think for me so I just want to talk about that group for a second. For me, that group was really just to help everybody in it take the next step, right? What's the next level for you? And so, whether it's audio quality or, just shortening some things. We had some of the feedback like that or whatever it is. Just improve what you're doing so that more people can access it and it be more accessible to people. As far as relationships that I've built, it's really been a lot. And that's actually been the one thing that I'm most fascinated by podcasting. When I worked at a bank, I never networked like within my company or anything. I didn't care. Now, an argument can be made that probably would have been a good idea, right? My career wouldn't have felt so limited if more people liked me, right? But I just didn't care. I didn't want to. But with podcasting, I love it. And my favorite thing to do is to find new people and hear about their shows, connect with them. In the group, so like Tracy was in that conversation, right? Tracy Winchell, her Reboots podcast. I was just on her show. She was great. I'll have to let her tell the story. You should talk to her sometime about how we connected initially, because it's a really great story about, really even if you flub up the beginning, it's okay. You can do that. But so Brandy, I love Brandy, Sean McCoy, Brandy Gable. Her show is Road Home to You. Chris Starin. Have you seen what Chris Starin's doing?
No, I haven't.
True's podcast. I don't know if he was in that one. He might have been in the other group, but his show, he asked the question this week, should we be afraid of Muslims? Dude, I was like, that is a controversial and difficult task to tackle that subject. I love it. So
I'll tackle it.
No,
Okay.
don't, Andrew. No, you're not tackling it.
My point
Yes, we
was
should
not
be
really
friends
bring up
with
the
Muslims.
subject, but
He said
just
afraid, right?
Yeah.
Did you say afraid or
No.
friends?
afraid. Yeah, should we be afraid?
Afraid. No, we should not be afraid of them.
Yeah, right.
That's
Oh,
easy.
I actually thought you were going the other way.
No.
From your,
99 point whatever percent of Muslims are great people. It's that 0.0001%.
there's-
That's crazy and radical.
and that's with everything, ideally. But you just have a lot of experience being in Afghanistan that
Oh,
I
wow.
thought that you would have went the other
No.
way.
I have Afghani friends right now.
Well, I know, but
Well,
No.
wait. Tell me about that. Tell me about being in Afghanistan.
I mean, it was great. I loved it.
this is all news to me. Okay.
No. So, I mean, really being overseas in a war, it's the brotherhood. And that's what you learn to love. I mean, you're there to do a job just like you go to work every day, and Dusty goes to work every day, and I go to work every day. You're there to do a job. And we all swore an oath to obey orders from, the top, from the president and Congress. And so if they enact a war, I signed up for that. That was my job. So I love the country. It was great. I would love to go back there if it ever became a resort country. So if the fighting ever stopped, it'd be a beautiful country to visit, especially in the wintertime.
I'm taking it by all the stories of the stupidity of those orders that were being given to you and the things you had to do. And, so I'm not going to go into any more
So you're
of
a
that.
hippie.
What? Whatever, Andrew. Andrew has PTSD. He has memory loss issues. And so I'm just going to say he forgot all the stuff he told me. And
No, I mean, I know all that stuff.
so moving on.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry I brought it up, Dusty. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Anyway, my point was, Chris is doing some great work, and I've gotten to meet a bunch of those people who I never would have had the chance to have relationships with, you included, if I hadn't started that group. So,
Yeah.
Clearly, you haven't listened to a lot of our podcasts because that's been a big topic.
Yeah. It goes back and forth there. So you're starting now. I've seen. I haven't. You're having a conference that you would have just had once we finished, before this podcast goes out. And so, is that a new thing that you're starting to do? Is that going to be a yearly thing, or what's that journey for conferencing been like? For
yeah, dude, that has been an amazing kind of journey. It's much harder than I thought it would be, right? So I thought, hey, everybody wants to grow their audience, and so it'd be easy to just put something together where we talk about how to promote on like Twitter and different mediums, getting great guests. My friend Michael Woodward's going to talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about streamlining my guest process, because I think that's like when I learned how to do that, my podcast just got a lot better because I could get better guests, things like that. But I did it because I really wanted to just do something that was a little bit different. Eventually, I'd like to have a live event. So ambition has never been my problem. Execution is. so I've learned to kind of take baby steps and just do one thing at a time. So I thought, okay, let's do this sort of virtual summit where people don't have to travel. They don't have to invest hundreds of dollars. All they got to do is say, okay, I'm going to show up at home. I'm going to watch online. A lot of it, if you pay for it, then you can get access to the replays later. We tried it. I've learned a lot. Interesting. This last, let's say, month or so has been kind of weird for me because we had our school ended a little bit early because we had a shooting at our school.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
that was insane.
Some people heard about it. It was on national news. It was on Fox News. And so, kids got back to school, but it definitely messed up our schedule. And so it kind of messed up my whole work day because now kids were only in school for 2 hours instead of 6 or 7, and so I didn't get a lot done. Plus, it's a little traumatic, trying to figure out how to work after that.
It was like, can you go back to work after that?
It was tough, dude. It's really interesting, right? So it was interesting to go, okay, sit down and try to start work, and especially creative work when I try to write. It's just really hard to focus and get into that groove. Harder than normal. I always have a little bit of a hard time getting started in the morning, but once I do, I can do a lot. But it was tough, and I've heard that from a lot of other parents as well. So anyway, that got a wrench thrown into it, totally unexpected. But the Christian Podcast Summit, I plan to do a couple times a year. So we're going to do, the next one's going to be at the end of January. And instead of a 1-day event, we're going to do a 2-day event, and so we'll have 2 days. I'm probably going to focus it a little more, so it'll be more on the promotion side, best practices and promotion side than the because we don't really talk about technology. There's a little bit of audio in this one, but most people, if you're a podcaster already, you figured that out.
You kind of have some idea. I mean, you don't
right.
The thing I use, I won on eBay on accident for $7, and that's how we capture our audio.
That works.
It's just kind of the just start doing it and worry about the quality later.
Right. Well, I have this thing on my computer, a little Post-it that says version. And that's what my coach always tells me. He says version up. So start out, what's version 1 look like? And it might look like a $7 eBay purchase. Yeah. And, then go out from there.
Yeah, except we're 4 years on $7 eBay.
Hey, if it works, man.
So we're still on version 1.
Your guys' mics sound good. You've got XLR mics, so that's good.
Yeah. No, we started with these.
Yeah, we started with these. This is version 1.
Yeah, there's still
we
version
actually
1.
haven't upgraded since then. I upgraded a computer, but with nothing else.
I don't even know if you upgraded it, dude.
Well, I mean, I got a new computer, but I didn't add a program. I'm using the same program.
I was going to say, because we met at my house for like the first 2 years.
Well, we did upgrade. Okay, sorry, we're side talking here. We did upgrade because remember, at first we didn't have this $7 piece of equipment.
No, we went straight
in. We? No, we went straight into your.
Yes, I bought a 3-1.
We went straight into your headphone jack because we had the wow.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did.
Remember, and so we upgraded. Version 2 is $7.
See,
$7 thing. So, okay, so we started our very first podcast launched in November of 2015.
Wow.
No, 20. Oh, yeah, 2015, you're right.
We've been going at it for a while.
Ironically, our very first podcast is episode 2, and our second podcast is episode 1.
Nice.
Version 1, Eric. Version 1. Just get it up there.
Just start at the beginning. Or version 2, whatever. Episode 2, it doesn't matter.
It's more about getting content out there than it was the quality of it.
But you know what? Like, how true is that? Sometimes you just got to start. So, like, that's what I did with the conference. We just started. Yeah. We've had a few people buy in, and we'll have a little bit of an audience, but not as many as I was hoping for. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. I mean, we'll do another one, and we'll learn from this, and we'll market it in ways that I didn't this time, and hopefully we'll get better at it.
Yep. So why should Christians podcast?
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm a big believer in the priesthood of all believers, which is a sort of Reformation era doctrine idea, but comes to us from 1 Peter. And it's this idea that you don't have to be a pastor in order to have a ministry, right?
Amen, brother.
Right. So whatever your passion is, whatever your idea is, or the thing that you really enjoy doing or talking about, there's other people out there who also have the same. And here's the reality: the internet has made it more possible than it has ever been before to find those people, right? To find people who are like and who enjoy the same kind of things as you do. So, and there's also somebody who needs to hear what you want to say, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can reach them, I think you have a responsibility to do that. So depending on what you do, and here's the other thing. This is why I love podcasting. You don't need permission from your church, right? So,
amen.
Okay. Yes. Andrew, so are you guys both house church people? Or is it just
yes,
Andrew?
we are both.
Okay.
Well, I am. Dusty's not really. Oh, well, okay. Different definition of house church.
Yeah,
Depends.
It's a long story.
It's complicated. Okay, I didn't expect that answer to be so complicated.
Yeah,
So,
everything's complicated with us, Eric.
Give me the short version. It is like a relationship. You guys are funny.
Yeah, our first episodes talked about how church was actually out of people's houses and in the early times, anyways. And so that's how our podcast started. We went through this book that talked about how all how Christianity started, essentially.
Pagan Christianity by Frank Viola.
Oh, yeah.
Your buddy Frankie.
Buddy Frankie.
Have you
Buddy
had Frank on your show?
No.
You should have Frank on your show. I'm going to get him, and then I'm going to refer him to you.
He politely declined because it was mainly more like, I have many more newer books.
Oh,
He didn't really want to talk about the older books.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So, because of course that was his first book or first big book, anyways.
Well, and he had a new version, and he had a secondary, stuff like that. So,
and anyways, so yeah, his point of views and thoughts have changed. Obviously, version 1, that's what we read.
yeah.
And he wanted to talk about the current version. So
we were like, I can't read another book.
He wanted to be like Fox News, talk about current issues instead of CNN talking about past issues.
One book a year, Dusty? That's it?
That's pushing it, man.
Dude, you're an overachiever, Dusty.
Yeah. Back when I was paid pastor on staff, I would read mini books, because you just,
right.
It's just
That's
so
your
easy.
job.
I'm just very selfish with my time outside of work. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So, I'm very prideful and selfish, and I just don't. I'll watch YouTube videos. I'll listen to podcasts, teaching podcasts, but it's just something about sitting down and reading I just have always struggled with.
Yeah, maybe you need an Audible account.
My wife has one.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, okay, we'll fix that problem later. So my point was, if you're house church people, we'll go back. So I didn't know if you guys both were or not, or what your deal is. But anyway, I think that it doesn't matter. I think one of the problems in the church is that we have too many people who are invested in keep bringing in nickels and noses, right? Instead of actual spiritual maturity. And so we're getting other people to use their gifts. On a typical Sunday, maybe a handful of people get to use their gifts, and I don't like that. So if you're especially if you're a talker, you like to talk more than right, podcasting is for you.
Well, and I think it's also like our podcast. We're trying not to be that. We specifically, we're not really a comedy podcast per se. Like, we're not trying to be funny. We just naturally are. no, but we are. But
Our life is a dad joke.
Yeah. So we try to separate ourselves by just putting Christian comedy podcasts outside of. We don't feel like we have all the answers. We're just really good at asking some questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're those people, and we're the people I hate. I hate it when people bring a problem to me and they don't already have an answer for it. I'm that person with this podcast. So.
And that's what we do here is we ask the questions.
Without the answers.
Because the spiritual journey I have been on is we all think we have the answers, but the reality is probably none of us actually know the answer. So that's been my journey with this.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. I think it's true to some extent. You know, I think there's some things that we can pretty much agree on with, doctrinally. I mean, we all believe in Jesus, but sometimes about how do you do other things. You know, how do other things work out in your theology? I mean, we need to have room to ask questions and to challenge those kinds of things. I've seen a lot. I got unfriended today by somebody who was upset that I liked a post by somebody in our group who was against complementarianism. We don't have to go into that, but she was, or at least against some things that are happening in response to some stuff at the Southern Baptist Convention. I just thought, weird. It's weird to unfriend somebody for liking a post like that.
Yeah, we've had that issue with people giving us bad reviews or thumbs down on iHeartRadio, wherever they're at, because like we have an episode where we address some of these reviews, but like it was basically, some of them were like, I was looking for a really good teaching Christian podcast, and this you guys are joking about this and this and this and this, and I'm like, okay, I mean, I get it, but we didn't say that we were. Like, it's just weird. And or like we've had a few girls on our show, which lead to girl listeners, and we joke like the Satan is a male or a female episode is one of those that, you know, females might not like.
Right. Potential controversy.
Yeah. And for us, it's just a joke. It was funny. My wife thought it was funny. She kind of is the buffer. And whether
clearly America found it funny because we had a lot of uploads or downloads on that one.
Yeah. But there's always those one or two Christians in a sense, and it's Christians, but that or like, I don't know if that's theological correct, and so I'm going to dislike this, and, you know, I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
I actually got a bad review recently from somebody who said, so I had do you guys know the show Can I Say This at Church? Seth Price is that guy. So I had Seth on my show because he just has such a great demeanor with how he will approach very controversial topics. And he'll so I challenged, or I asked him, like, okay, what are some of the issues that you kind of wrestled with? And one of them was the virgin birth. And he came down ultimately on the side of that it doesn't really matter whether or not the virgin birth was literal, which kind of a big deal. I mean, historically, that's sort of, okay, that's it kind of leads you into some other things that were actually declared heresy. So I didn't really push him on all that.
Yeah.
But I just let him share where he was with it, you know, and because I was more interested in his process, because that's what I talk about is, you know, okay, well, how did you get to where you are, and how did that change your faith in who God is and how he's working with you? And somebody left me a review and said, well, you know, usually I love the show, but there is a virgin birth. And so without the virgin birth, there's no forgiveness of sins. And I was like, yeah, and I made sure to say on there, yeah, you know, I wrestle with the virgin birth in some ways. It's really the view of sin behind it. That's a whole other story. But,
well, and that's where, if it's like, in my opinion, if I'm not naive or too prideful enough that my way in belief is the correct way.
Right.
Now, that is kind of crazy and out there, I would agree, but you gotta, like, the guy is still on a spiritual journey to the same God, you know?
And he loves the Lord. So, like, I would not even say, you know, because I'm not one of those guys who would go like, hey, we're all, you know, all paths lead to the Lord. I wouldn't say that. But I would say this guy's, you know, Seth really loves the Lord. He does. And he is doing his best to be honest about the questions that he has and to share those. And that, as you know, I think that keeps him within the bounds of orthodoxy, even if that is an interesting and different, and certainly in the 20th century or 21st century in America, unique view. He's at least being a lot more honest than 90% of Christians, you know, that I often interact with. That's an arbitrary number, 90%.
Nope, I'm bad review now because that's not the
here we
exact
go.
number.
What does he know?
Great. Wait. Who's getting the better review, us or you?
It's gonna be us. We uploaded it. Oh my god. That's the same thing with you, right? Somebody didn't agree with your guest, and so
Right.
they.
Well, they were kind enough to give me I think they gave me 5 stars, but then they mentioned that they didn't like. So I
get
lucked
1
out.
and 2 stars with those.
From Australia. They were from Australia, which is, hey, it's great. I'm glad they took the time to do it. And interestingly, so my show every once in a while will chart in Australia, which is kind of fascinating.
We're actually pretty popular in Australia as far as our metrics go.
Nice. That's good.
And so
This will add to my popularity there. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Everybody check it out.
Or is it going to decrease our popularity?
Now that you just brought up the negative review guy.
It might happen. It might.
Oh no.
The reality is we both have one listener in Australia. They just download everything 4 times.
And it's a bot.
Yeah.
It's just a bot.
I hope that's not true.
Yeah.
I bet we have the same Australian friends.
We might.
We might.
Hillsong.
Oh, they were.
They're my Australian friends.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could introduce me to a few people, I'd appreciate that.
I'll put out some calls and
Okay,
see where it gets.
See? Networking. And we're back.
And we're back to network. It brings us all back to that Christian Should podcast. And I encourage anybody just to get started. Eric can help you. We can give you some cheaper alternatives if you wanted to figure that out. And but I think the goal is get some content out there that is just loving, to people. And it can be serious. We talk about fantasy football. And I wouldn't know this because I was getting ready to nix that. I was like, Andrew, I'm tired. Like when fantasy football comes around, our schedule kind of limits us to one podcast a week, and it ends up being only about fantasy football. And so there's like conviction there because we mean the podcast twice a week, and then it just something happens. And then we get people from Australia saying, hey, really enjoying the fantasy football episodes. And I'm like, what the? That doesn't even apply to you.
Do we call it American football?
Yeah.
Yes, but Australians get our humor
Yeah, they do get our humor.
That's
So
good.
somehow.
Man,
they're a little less particular on some of those rules. That we
yeah.
have to
I'm
live
trying
by.
to... I'm playing fantasy baseball this year.
Oh, Dusty does that.
I'm second, but I drafted Jose Ramirez first, and that sucked. That's not good.
I do the daily. I have a little bit of a gambling problem,
Uh-oh.
and I do the daily, the daily FanDuel DraftKings stuff.
Nice. Do you win? Because I can never win those.
Baseball is hard
Uh.
because you can pick the best players of every team, and they'll go 0 for 4 or 2 home runs. You just don't know.
That's why you pick the second or third best because they're more consistent.
That is a strategy. Pick the top pitcher and then go with just your middle lineup guys, and you'll get some hits here and there. But I do win. I don't watch my bankroll very much. I mean, and I say I'm a gambler. It's like $10. Like I think I have a budget. My wife's an accountant.
That means
and
you're
so,
a gambler.
So I have a budget that I can play, and I'll get it up for a while. And then all of a sudden, I'll get really confident in the bad lineup. And so, one time I placed like third in or it was like a 230,000 football person contest.
Wow.
And so, like on a $1 bet, I won $300. That's probably the best I've done. There was one night where I was like looking at $30,000 jackpot, and so I had to watch the fourth quarter of a basketball game and watch my dreams shatter.
No.
but it's just it makes watching like who's today? I can't even remember who was today. Toronto and Baltimore, which I'm a Baltimore fan because of the wife, but Toronto and Baltimore are playing. They kind of both suck. But you put $2 on it, and all of a sudden you care.
Yeah,
That's
right.
kind of how I feel. So
You're interested in it. That's cool. I've played a little daily, but not a lot.
Andrew and I just do football together. We're in a couple leagues. So
No,
Yeah.
I'm only in one.
Only in one.
You need to repent.
I'm
liar.
in 3.
It's because this guy, again, he has a gambling problem.
You just need one of them to hit, and you get your money back.
That's what everybody says when they buy a lottery ticket, brother. Every single one. I just need one of them, and they just bought like $20 worth of lotto tickets.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah.
Well, Eric, thanks for being on the podcast, man. You're really fun to hang out with. And again, if you guys want to, Christian Podcasters Association on Facebook, and they can, even if you don't have a podcast, it helps you find new podcasts that are coming out there. People are joining that every week with new content. So
Yeah.
it's a good place to find maybe something out of the box, something that's not on the mainstream Craig Groeschel, Stephen Furtick line of episodes.
Now, since you're on it, does that mean I don't need to join it?
No, you can.
You should be in
listen
there.
to podcasts as well, Andrew.
Yeah.
Did you not just hear you can find shows on there? Earth Oddity Bros, they're funny. They
are
on
funny.
the podcast once.
I love them.
I don't know. All the ones that you've recommended me, I haven't liked.
Well, those are usually crime ones.
Yeah,
I have a
that's
problem with
true.
recommending Christian podcasts. That's another topic for another day.
It can
I'm recommending true crime, baby. Murder.
It could be
Dude,
a
that
little
is not
tough.
you at all. Dancing with Stars.
What?
What the? What's that chick show?
Bachelor in Paradise.
That's it.
That's just a guilty pleasure. God, he's just got to bring us stuff up. Just so I have to either edit it out or leave it in. It's up to me.
It's that moral dilemma.
It's,
Moral dilemma.
things got weird all of a sudden there. I don't know what that
Do
was.
I push a person off the railroad track and save 50,000 people?
Oh,
Or-
gosh, Andrew. Oh, my
you guys are
goodness.
funny.
This is sometimes why I have guests on alone. You've now learned. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate all you guys subscribing. There's a lot of you, it seems like, now, and it's kind of just, super pumped seeing all that kind of stuff. People actually care about what we're talking about, which is weird and cool at the same time. So again, all you guys in Canada, Australia, California,
Nova Scotia.
and all the other places, Oklahoma, Texas, all that. We just appreciate you guys listening, supporting us, and sharing this podcast, and we will see you next week.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
So Andrew couldn't do it naturally, right? Andrew
Hey,
only said,
wait.
thanks, Eric.
No, because you literally talked as soon as I ended, because I didn't even do my later.
Nice.
I do one thing every episode, and Dusty couldn't even wait for it. Wait for it. Later.